The story of Babel is one of the most interesting stories in the Bible. A massive tower stretching to the heavens, a display of human strength, pride, and disobedience. Let's dive into it. Our story begins in Genesis 10. After the great flood, the three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, begat sons, and their sons repopulated the entire earth. Cush, the son of Ham, gave birth to the greatest warrior that ever lived. His name was Nimrod. And we are told in verse 10 of chapter 10 in Genesis that the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So we see here that Nimrod built the kingdom of Babel in the land of Shinar. The land of Shinar was said to be located in ancient Mesopotamia, which we now know today as Iraq. According to Genesis chapter 11, the entire earth spoke one language and speech. Granted, the earth was not as populated as it is today, and people lived in close proximity to each other, so most things were shared, even the same language. The language of that time was very important. It was a very important tool of communication. Not only were people united by language, but it was also favorable for business. So why did the people of Babel decide to build a tower? What were they trying to accomplish? To get some clues as to what took place following the flood, let's go to the book of Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 11 says, "And the sons of Noah began to war on each other, to take captives and to slay each other, and to shed the blood of men on the earth, and to eat blood, and to build strong cities and walls and towers, and individuals began to exalt themselves above the nation, and to found the beginnings of kingdoms, and to go to war, people against people, and nation against nation, and city against city, and all began to do evil." So as we read here, it was a very difficult time. The wickedness of the people increased greatly. And if you continue further down in the chapter, you would see that many of the people were involved in idol worship. So there were no reverence for God. They were puffed up and full of pride. The scripture says that they wanted to exalt themselves above the nation. And with this pride and determination, they set out to build a tower in the city of Babel in the land of Shinar. To find out more about the construction of the tower, we will visit Jubilees 10:18 to 21. Now, though the name Tower of Babel is not mentioned in the chapter, the information given gives a clear indication that it is the same Tower of Babel that we are referring to based on the geographical location. It reads, "And in the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year in the second week, Peleg took to himself a woman, whose name was Lomna, the daughter of Shinar, and she bore him a son in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Ru. For he said, Behold, the children of men have become evil through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city and a tower in the line of Shinar. For they departed from the land of Ararat, eastward to Shinar. For in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, Go to, let us ascend thereby into heaven. And they began to build. And in the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the bricks served them for stone. And the clay with which they cemented them together was asphalt, which comes out of the sea and out of the fountain of water in Shinar. And they built it for 43 years. So we have Peleg, a descendant of the line of Shem, given an account of the construction of this tower, the Tower of Babel, down to the building materials that were used. Notice that instead of stones, the people used bricks made from fire and placed them together with asphalt. That means the primary building materials used in those days were stones. So how did the people of Babel in the land of Shinar acquire the knowledge of fire and bricks? Were they so far ahead of their time? The Babylonians were known to be great builders, and some historical and biblical scholars have come up with many theories as to why fire bricks were used. One of these theories suggests that as some of the people moved away from the land of Ararat, which is said to be located in modern-day Turkey and Armenia, and settled in Mesopotamia, not only was the landscape different, but the natural minerals and materials were also different. They had to use what was available to them. And according to scriptures, asphalt was abundant in the land of Shinar, as well as clay. Regardless whether it was by trial or error, they made use of what was available. So they used a process known as kiln firing to transform the raw clay into a brick-like material. This material was significantly more durable and offered more support than using stones. But could it be possible that the knowledge was already passed down before the Great Flood? After all, Noah was the 10th generation and his sons the 11th generation after the flood. What do you think? What is interesting is the fact that the Tower of Babel was not a quick process. The scripture states that the tower was completed in 43 years, which is a very long time. But considering the height of the tower and the purpose it was being used for, meticulous planning was necessary to avoid any structural mishaps from taking place. But the Almighty Father was not happy with the building of this tower in the city of Babel. And if he allowed them to continue with the construction of this tower, they might become more prideful and try to challenge God's sovereignty. God was not going to allow this to happen. So what was the solution? To confuse their language so they would not be able to communicate with each other, thereby bringing the construction of the tower to a grinding halt. Not only did they not understand each other, they also stopped building that great city of Babel. Every man was dispersed into other cities and nations according to their language they spoke. God then sent a mighty and powerful wind, which toppled the Tower of Babel and sent it crashing down to earth. Now, as to the location of where the tower fell, the book of Jubilees has placed it between the cities of Ashur and Babel in Shinar. Archaeologists around the world have tried very hard to find evidence of the tower amidst the ruins of the ancient Mesopotamian landscape, to no avail. However, similar structures has been found. Though not the Tower of Babel, it gives an idea of how magnificent these ancient structures can be. Take for instance the Etemenanke Tower, built during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II, the king of Babylon. The name is said to mean house of the foundation of heaven and earth. The tower is rumored to have stood about 300 feet tall and was constructed of baked bricks and bitumen, which is similar to that of the Tower of Babel. Fast forward to the 1800s. German archaeologist Robert Kildewey excavates Babylon. What he finds are the foundation of a massive ziggurat, matching ancient records of Etemenanke. So the Babylonians were extreme builders. Skyscrapers may not be a modern concept. Today, the Tower of Babel lives on, not in bricks, but in symbolism. It's a story of language, power, pride, and division. Whether you're in New York, Nairobi, or New Delhi, you are part of a world shaped by the scattering at Babel. Thanks for watching. If you're a history enthusiast and love biblical stories, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Until next time, knowledge is a gift from above. We must nurture it to the fullest. See you in the next video.